So this happened on my graveyard shift. I was helping another short-staffed store across town. I had a woman come in. She seemed a little frazzled and is carrying a Bible, but otherwise she seemed fine. She buys some chips, then starts talking to me about this crazy pandemic stuff. She then tells me she ate an evil spirit pretending to be a clove of garlic. I of course think she's messing with me, but no, she pulls out a piece of garlic, lays it on the counter and starts telling me it isn't garlic and is in fact a demon that wants to possess her. She then starts asking me if I believe in spirits or if I can see it, because despite looking like I'm one of the humans that's a demon, I'm really a human who's a third angel who was sent to Earth to help her expel the evil spirits. She also urges that it's okay if I didn't know how to, because she can see it, and she leaves the garlic on the counter and tells me that she'll wait for me to deal with it. Now that's pretty much where the original incident ended. A few days later at about 2 a.m, maybe 2:15ish on a Tuesday, I'm working the graveyard shift at my usual store when this woman pops up again. She proceeds to just buy some candy and sorta hang out, asking me about jade, the jewelry type, and incense, and if we've met before. Nothing as weird as before. Now, the weird thing is, I didn't hear or see her come in before she approached the counter. We have a loud ass siren thing that turns on when the doors are open and only shuts off when they're closed, which normally is not a big deal. But considering that I've been stocking and cleaning in the front the whole time and had only gotten 2 or 3 customers beforehand, yeah, it was a bit weird. She hangs out a bit longer, then rushes to the restroom and doesn't walk out of it till about 6 a.m. She says have a nice day and just walks out the store like nothing, which freaks me the hell out because I cleaned the restrooms a little bit after she went in and somehow had managed to slip out or hide somewhere when I went to clean them. Outside of hiding in the stalls, there is nowhere to hide in a restroom and there's no window to slip out of. And like a jackass, I looked up at the top of the stalls and at the ceiling thinking she had pulled a Spider-Man, but nope, she just poofed. Disappeared, then reappeared and left super casually a couple hours later. I had freshly turned 18 and was working a closing shift at a small cafe in a grocery store. One of my regular customer comes in, Tom. Tom was a hugger. He'd come in and call out, "Where's my girls?" And we'd all have to awkwardly hug this 80-year-old man while he whispered, "God bless you," in your ear. I hated Tom. He always held on a little too long and whispered a little too close. On this shift, I was closing alone and Tom came in at about 4 p.m. Nothing unusual. I dealt with the creepy and got him his coffee and bagel. He was with his wife this time. She was sweet but tired looking. He started asking me questions as I worked. What do I have to do at night? Is it hard closing alone? What time am I off? Do I ever get scared walking to the car in the dark? The questions got progressively more uncomfortable and his wife just sat there silently. I answered as friendly as I could, despite the hair on the back of my neck standing up. I would catch him staring at me often. It was okay though. I was off work at 7, so it wasn't a big deal. Until he didn't leave. His wife went home without him and he just stayed staring for hours. I asked if there was anything else he needed. He said no, I'm just waiting for you to get off of work. He wanted to walk me to my car. He said because young girls shouldn't be in a dark parking lot alone. I told him it wasn't necessary and continued about my work, ignoring him even as he stared. He left about 15 minutes before my shift ended, into the dark Michigan winter, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't think twice when I punched out and headed to my car. I grabbed my snow brush and began clearing my car, enjoying the quiet that's unique to a snowy night. I began to hear the crunching of footsteps behind me. I brushed it off. I am in a parking lot after all. But they get closer, past any other car and directly towards my car, parked away from the others in employee parking. I look and it's Tom, maybe 50 feet away, smiling. He tells me that I should have looked for him. He had been standing outside waiting for me and I should know it's dangerous for young girls to be alone in a parking lot at night. I began shaking. I tried to open my car door but it was frozen shut due to the earlier storm. Tom came closer, calling me a stupid girl and asking God to forgive him. I debated running back into the store. He was so old, he surely couldn't keep up, right? I didn't want to chance it though. He could have been younger as I'm a terrible judge of age and I'm not exactly fast myself considering my weight. So I stand my ground. I fumble in my purse for my pepper spray, thankfully attached to my keys. I tell him to stay back, I have pepper spray, and to go home to his wife. He glowers at me. I show him the teal canister. We're about 15 feet apart now. He's well within range. He calls me names, spits at me, and heads back into the store. I get in my half uncovered car and drive home, terrified. I called the store when I got home, only a mile and a half away, so about 2 minutes, and told them what had happened. They kicked Tom out and told him not to come back. He began cursing up a storm and his wife had to come pick him up. He ended up getting arrested for owning very illegal content a couple years later, but I don't know the details as I had moved away at that point. Can't say I'm sad to see him go though. Not what I saw, but what I heard. I was on a solo motorcycle trip across the great USA, from New York to southern Florida, then straight across to Los Angeles. I camped at national parks 85% of the trip and loved meeting the people there. No real scary animal encounters, all was good. This particular day was Thanksgiving 2015. I came out of the local market with my dinner for the night and had a little camp spot in mind. A father and his son saw me and my motorcycle, so they stopped by to chat. All was well until he asked me where I was planning on staying that night. I told him. His face went white. He begged me not to go. I asked why. He said there's a group that practices dark arts in the woods around there, usually around Thanksgiving. He said people have been known to go missing. Needless to say, I was freaked, but the night was coming fast and there weren't any nearby alternatives. I told him I would heed his advice, but ultimately I went anyway. No one was at the camp spot, but there were a few RVs. I thought it was odd, but was happy for some peace and quiet. I made a fire, ate some turkey out of a bag, and tried to relax, but something about this place was off. I cannot explain it, but it was kinda like the feeling of being watched, coupled with the fact that these RVs seemed recently used and had stealable belongings hanging out. Motorcycling day in and day out takes a huge toll on your body. I was tired as hell, but that uneasy feeling was keeping me up. After a few hours, I decided I needed sleep or risk repercussions the next day. I let the fire die down and crawled into my tent. Just as I settled in, I heard it. A terrible guttural sound. It was unlike anything I've ever heard. An equal mix of a human scream and an animal dying. One dying scream as it were, just once. It felt close, but also far. Chills pulsated throughout my body, instantly activating my fight or flight. I jumped out of my tent and shined my flashlight in that direction. Nothing. I picked up a rock and slowly crept around, but once again, nothing. Needless to say, I didn't sleep a wink that night, but no one ever showed up. I can still hear that scream and feel those chills when I think about it.